That's me. All right. Welcome to the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild March meeting. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Hope you're drinking. I kept on my Woodcraft shirt because it is green today. So anyway, I'd like to welcome members and guests. If you're at home and a new member or a guest visiting us for the first time, please stand up, give yourself a round of applause, and we will hear it. We are on YouTube Live tonight. Got a lot of people standing and clapping around here. We're going to do things a little bit differently tonight because we've got people waiting on Zoom for the show and tell. So, Jim Bainey, come on up. We're going to do show and tell right now.
Thank goodness. Hi, everybody. This is working? Okay. So, we want to bring up Kevin Thomas first. There he is. Hi, Kevin.
How you doing, Jim?
Good. So, you have built a folding knife.
Yeah, that was the first of two that I've made. That one, and it's I made two identical ones for my two sons' birthday presents this year. Couldn't have got it done without the long distance help of Mike Jones, but he gave me some tips along the way. So it was a neat project.
So
it's made.
You made it out of quarter sawn sycamore?
I believe that's what it is. It's from several years ago. Anthony Harris gave me a chunk of light colored wood, and when I resawed it, it had the nice little crosshatch figure to it, kind of like quarter sawn sycamore. So I assumed that's what it was, but I wouldn't say definitely. But it's got a nice figure to it if you look at it closely.
Okay, and so and you made two of these?
Made two of them, yes.
So you purchased the mechanical part, and you basically
put the scales
made the
on
handle,
it.
Formed the handle, and applied it.
Yes.
Okay, what'd you finish it with?
It's just mineral oil and paste wax. I'll send a little bottle with that along to my sons when I give it to them for their birthday.
Why did you choose mineral oil?
That's what Mr. Jones said was good to use.
Most of the time we use mineral oil on edible, for cutting boards or anything in contact with food. Was that the justification?
I don't. That's just what Mike recommended. He also said he uses that Odie's oil, that oil wax blend, but that stuff's really expensive, and I'm too cheap.
Okay, so you built two of these for both of your sons. Have they cut themselves with a knife yet?
They haven't got them yet.
Oh, so that's in the future.
Yeah, they'll be getting them soon. I've got to make a couple of small boxes to put them in first as a gift, and then they'll get them.
Are you going to sharpen the blades?
They actually came out of the package fairly sharp, so if they want it any sharper than that, they're going to have to do it themselves.
Okay. All right. So, what was your least favorite part about doing this?
There's some little tiny screws that go into the handle there, and they were just a bear for my big crooked fingers. So, but I got it done.
What was your favorite part?
Just the fact that I was able to get them done. I just being able to get out and work in my shop was great. It gave me time alone with all this after COVID and everything, and it's nice to be doing something.
Okay. Does anybody here have any other questions for Kevin? Got any final comments about it, Kevin?
No, I'm just wanted to share it and hope it looks presentable.
Looks nice. Nice form. So, good job.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
See you.
All right. Is Susan available?
She's not on Zoom. We have Les and Mike. You want to go Les?
All right. Pull Les up next.
All right.
Hi, Les.
Hello, Mr. Benny. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
All right.
You staying busy
You
during
look,
the
you look a
time
little
off?
more handsome than I remember.
Yeah. Hey, Les. I can't say the same for you.
Oh, that's okay. I understand.
So, have you been keeping yourself busy during this time off?
Oh, I've worked the whole time. I haven't been off.
Okay. So you built a fishing reel.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, my father, how this started, my father-in-law passed away last May, and I acquired all of his fishing equipment, which included somewhere between 300 and 400 fishing reels of all kinds. And I've been cleaning them and working on them and trying to sell some. And I was cleaning 404s one day, and I just got to look at it and I thought, I can make this. And that's when it started. And I just started thinking about it like I always do. Thought about it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I just went out and started making one.
So that casting is actually made out of wood?
Yeah, the case is wood. It's all turned on the lathe. Got the inlay banding on it there. The thumb button and the handles on the deal are ebony. And then I made all the brass parts also.
So is this is a functioning reel?
The inside of it is parts out of a Zebco 404. It doesn't cast as good as I would like. I still got to work on it some. I'm going to see if I can improve it to where it casts like a regular reel, but I just haven't had time to mess with it.
So is this something you plan on going fishing with?
Yeah. Actually,
Really?
I took it fishing.
Really? Did you catch anything?
No, the day I went, it was real cold and windy. And like I said, I was having trouble with it casting, so I didn't stay out very long. But I did go out and try it.
Awesome. So are you going to build the rod to go with it?
No, I'm not going to build another reel either.
Oh, come on, Les.
That one was it.
So what was your favorite part about doing this?
Oh, just the whole thing.
Okay, what'd you make it out of?
The case is mahogany, the thumb button and the knobs are ebony. And then, like I say, I made all the brass parts by hand.
What was your least favorite part about it?
The thumb button. It probably took me, I probably spent almost 4 days messing with that, trying to get it the right size, trying to get it to work before, and I was making practice pieces out of just MDF, trying to get it to work. And I finally got to where I could get it to work. And then I went ahead and made one out of ebony.
Les, you got way too much time on your hands.
Yeah, some days.
And you said you probably weren't going to do this again?
I kind of doubt it. I probably got designing and figuring everything out. I probably got 80 hours in this.
And you got 400 other ones that you inherited.
Yeah, at least that. All kinds, not just Sebco's, all kinds. And I'll add one other thing. One of the things I found in his collection, and I know he didn't know he had this, I found the 7th Zebco fishing reel ever made. And I've had it documented. They made 25 reels, May the 13th, Friday, May 13th, 1949, as a pre-production run before they started making reels. And they marked each one of them, and I have number 7.
Wow. Wow.
So,
anybody got any questions?
Any idea what that number 7 might be worth?
I was told, depending on the day, anywhere between $350 and $500.
Wow. Lucky.
I know my father-in-law didn't have it, or he'd have been showing it to everybody. I found it by accident going through all of it.
So, Les, you got anything else to add about it?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Thank you.
All right, good to see you.
Good. Thanks. All right. Who's next?
All right, we got Mike up next. He's got a couple different projects, so.
Mike
you
Nickel?
on? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going through my pictures of projects and things that I've made since I've been a member of the guild for the last several years. And I've got a desk and an ottoman and some end tables and a couple of nightstands and headboards and coffee tables and all sorts of things. Whoop, that's not it. Where did that come from? Well, that's the ottoman. That's not actually, whoop, what is that? That's the desk. That's not what I sent in, though, I don't think.
Mike, I got
There we go.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. Yeah. And so what I decided to do was, rather than sending in something that had, 18 layers of hand rubbed finish and all sorts of smooth surfaces and turned legs and all that kind of stuff, decided to send in a couple of different things that I've been able to work on since I've more or less been stuck at home. And so I chose to send in this arbor here, which is on the side of my house, and then also a piece of art that I kind of cobbled together from leftover pieces from the next door neighbor's fence when they were changing out their pickets. And it's all these things are a little more rustic. They're not exactly guild. They're not exactly something that you'd run through the guild necessarily. No planers or jointers were harmed in the making of these things, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun to look at something a little different. And I kind of like doing this sort of thing. And it kind of gets me out from the couch and in front of the TV, and lets my wife watch HGTV rather than having it on ESPN all the time.
Okay, so let's go back to the arbor. What did you build that out of?
Well, that's made out of treated pine. It's about 6.5 feet tall there where the top part comes together, and then it's got 4 posts. It's all individual pieces nailed and put together with galvanized stuff so that it doesn't come apart here when it gets wet. And took several days to do, but I really enjoyed it.
So how it's obviously sitting on the ground. Is it fastened to something on the ground?
Yeah, in fact, those 4 posts there, they go about 2 feet into the ground in the concrete, and that was probably the worst part of it, was digging the holes for them, because I encountered some rocks I wasn't ready for, and that took some chipping and some working to get those things out of there.
Okay, and so you set those in concrete, and they're 4x4 posts.
4x4 posts, and then the little posts on the end are as well.
Okay, and then the lattice work in the middle, is that interwoven or is just pieces?
No,
on
that's
top?
that's all 1x2s, vertical layers in front of the horizontal layers.
Did you
So it's
half
a
lap
little-
those, or
I'm
are
not
they
sure what
just-
half lap means, but it looks a little beefier than the kind of stuff you just pick off the shelf at Home Depot.
Okay. So what did you treat that with?
Not a thing yet. I was going to give it a while to dry out, and this year, this was actually last fall. You can tell it's a little too green to have been this spring. But once it dries out enough, I'll probably go over it with something. I don't know, sometime, or maybe I'll just let it weather and not worry about it, because I'm sure it'll be standing long after we move out of the place.
Okay.
So again, you know, I didn't. It doesn't have that fancy finish. I didn't have to take one of Craig's finishing classes in order to get it to stand up out there.
He looks crestfallen.
I know. Believe me, I've heard good things, and I know somebody who's taken the class, and it's something I've got on the future agenda.
Okay, so are you planning on making any alteration on that? Put gates on that thing or anything like that?
No, that's it. Actually the thing about it that's probably more impressive than the arbor itself, which is, you know, just a bunch of wood nailed together. There's about 270 feet of rock edging and about 9,000 pounds of pea gravel and hundreds of plants and yards and yards of mulch and all that. And my wife and I did all that ourselves. We didn't hire anything out. So I put her to work.
The walkway is pea gravel or concrete?
It's pea gravel on top of weed mat with, they're a little hard to see the stepping stones in there.
Okay.
And all that stuff kind of works its way all the way around the back of the house over to the other side.
Okay. Anybody got any questions about this?
Was
Yeah.
this an original design, or did you find it somewhere?
It was basically let's see, I think it should be like this. And I just kind of started. I knew about what size I wanted. So once I got the posts plumb and squared, then the rest of it was just kind of winging it.
Okay. Got another question. Oh, okay. Anybody else? All right, let's go to the mountain piece. What's
Okay, well,
that
anybody
made out of?
anyone who's poked around on Pinterest or any of those kinds of things has probably seen similar type things. My wife saw it and liked it. This is about 2 by 2.5 feet, and I think, as I mentioned in the initial or in the beginning, I basically scavenged pieces of used pickets from my neighbor's fence. So it was free, which is good, right? Because we all know how much hardwood and stuff can be. So took a couple of different weekends to cut it and kind of lay it out and figure out what I wanted, and then hung it in the kids' bathroom.
So it looks like it's got a wide frame around it. Is that part of it?
Oh no, that's the wall. That's
okay.
wall paint. The
Okay,
frame
and
is
so it's
actually
got just what a
Yeah.
2x?
No,
frame?
it's aged pickets around the frame. So I think it's, you know, whatever that is, 1/2 inch width maybe, and 1.75 inches deep. And then the blue in the back is pickets, and then the mountains and moon in front are pickets laid on top of that, and the moon is I just cut it from a piece of wood out of the wood pile.
Okay. So what was your favorite part about working on that?
It was something different. You know, I see these things, and my wife wanted it, so it's nice to do something that she wanted. And it's just a little different. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. I
Okay,
like
well-
seeing it come together.
What was the worst part about working on
Well, the
that?
worst part was the blue up in top, the sky part of it. If you've ever tried to use blue oil stain, it looks almost black. And I couldn't get the right tone of blue, and I was kind of messing around. And the snow on the mountains is actually water-based stain. And by putting the water-based stain on those boards up top and then going over it after it dried with the blue oil-based stain, it gave me kind of the right tone of blue that I was after.
Okay. Anybody got any questions about that? You got some finishing questions, don't you, Craig? Okay.
I think it looks great. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. And did the neighbors fix the hole in the fence yet from where you stole these?
They replaced the whole thing. And quite honestly, I've got plans to do about a 4-foot by 6-foot scene over the top of my workbench. I'm just trying to decide whether I want to make it an outdoor scene similar to something like this, or if I want to do something of the KU campus going up the hill from the football stadium. I haven't quite decided that yet. But people are giving away this used fence stuff on Craigslist all the time, and it's always free. And that's the one of the real beauties is it's just.
Now, are you going to make
absolutely
something for your neighbors?
My sister-in-law has seen from where she lives on the agenda next. So no promises for them.
All right. Anything else to add? Nice work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Last one we got in the waiting room for Zoom is Larry.
Okay.
Welding.
And he's got
2 different projects. So,
okay.
Larry, you need to unmute your mic and video.
Here I am. That's a surprise because I didn't send that in until today. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We heard about it.
Yeah. Well, you must have been hard up. I sent it in for next month because.
Okay. So tell us about
the big one. Adam and Eve and the
figurine with is that a
the photograph didn't come out very well. That's Eve picking apples off the tree. We got several views of it.
okay.
That's a better picture. Sitting on a plinth. The figure itself is almost 4 feet tall to the top of the tree. The plinth.
That looks like Eve stealing an apple.
Well, I don't think she's stealing it. I don't know. I thought God gave him the apples, and it's
okay.
serpent that's doing the thing there.
So
I think Eve was tempted to that
tempted
apple.
to steal it. Ah,
Yeah.
she's a thief.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
It was all downhill after that.
Yeah.
This was a salvage log that came off of a riverbank in Belize, Central America.
So
And it had a lot of rod in it. But this was sort of
what was it again?
mahogany. It's mahogany.
So that's one piece, or
It's all one piece except for her feet, which were carved separately.
wow.
So it's this big log sat in my yard by my shop for a couple of years, rotting away.
So did you make the pedestal that's sitting on as well?
Yeah, that's mahogany veneer. Actually, veneer that came from the Guild years and years ago. That's
Okay.
That's glued over MDF with a veneer backer on it. That's just for the display purposes.
What's the dark material on top of the pedestal?
That's painted something or another.
Okay.
Anyway,
What did you have you put a finish on that?
yeah, it's got multiple coats of shellac.
Okay.
There are 4 pictures of this. You showed the back side. So this is the front side. And that's the back side. You can see the serpent there on the side. Adam's, I started out just carving her and the serpent, and then I found that I had enough wood on the back side to fit Adam in there, holding his chest, wondering what in the hell he's doing there. But the log was big enough to have her kneeling, and so that's to fit them all in there took some thinking. But it was great fun. I had no idea what I was doing, frankly. I saw this log leaning against a tree in the sunlight, and it kind of looked like someone leaning against a tree. And then I decided, well, it would be Eve picking apples. And it was going to be in sort of deep relief, just her and the serpent. And then it just got out of hand and turned into 3 dimensions. Anyway, the original log weighed at least 150 pounds. I had to use a come along to get it onto my bench. And in the end, it weighs 65 pounds.
So how long did this take you?
Oh, God. Oh, off and on. I didn't work on it all the time. A year and a half, maybe.
Year and a
think-
half?
Yeah, I finished it several years ago.
Okay.
It's the sort of thing you just don't carry to the guild for show and tell.
So
And
what's
that's why we have this one.
what's its future?
Um, well, right now it's in storage awaiting a buyer, a sale for big dollars, but I suspect it'll just stay in storage. I don't know what's going to happen to it.
Okay.
It's a hard sell. Let's put it that
You got
way.
plans to put it in any facilities to show it off?
I haven't done that. A couple of my pieces I've shown in the local art gallery, but not this piece.
Okay.
This is a pretty good sized showroom to show them.
So let's go to the second one then.
This again is a mahogany log from Belize. Most of this mahogany was rotten when it came out of the river, and it sat outside for at least 10 years, getting even more rot. So the first one was the front view. Now with the back view, you can see I just carved all the rot out of it. When I carved all the rot out of it, it kind of looked like the backside of legs. So if we come around the front again, let's see, we're still on the backside. There's the front. I call this lady with attitude. You can kind of see it in the front view, and then the hips in the back just sort of added to the attitude of the lady.
I'm not going there.
You're not going there. Well,
Okay, if that's, I just get myself in more trouble by.
Well, I'm surprised that you're not getting yourself into trouble. Yeah.
Okay.
You say
So
you say have something scandalous to say.
how long did it take you to do this piece?
Oh, this was fairly easy. This was a couple of months. I grind the stuff out of these logs with a angle grinder with a Arbor Tech cutting blade on it. I find that's much safer than the ones with the chainsaw blades on them. It will cut through my welding gloves, which I wear when I use the tool, but so you grind out most of it with that, and then gouges and chisels and sandpaper, and finally you get it smooth. And I put on a dilute, maybe half-pound shellac to soak it in.
You got a shellac finish on this?
Yeah. So
Okay.
you start with the thin stuff, and then you go to 2-pound seal coat, and you just put a lot on it. I spray it on so it goes fast.
Okay.
And it dries fast. So about the time I get around this, turn it around on a.
So what's the future of this piece?
What's the future of this piece? Is sitting next to the Adam and Eve in my stories. Yeah, I got several things in there.
Okay, you got any more to add about this one?
No, it's looking for a buyer again.
Okay.
It's even harder. So.
I'll ask around.
Well, yeah, well, I'll give you a good commission. You sell them.
Okay. Thanks, Larry.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Awesome work.
I'm glad to see you back.
Good to see you.
Look a little older than I saw you last, but then I probably look older too.
Who, me?
Who, me? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You take care now.
Okay. So, where's Dave Roth? Good cue.
All right. Good evening. My name is David Roth. A couple of years ago, Brad Swatters and Andrew Carr had a toolbox class. And it was a 2 Saturday weekend class, and students came in and they built a toolbox. It has a little caddy, and it works really well. We brought it to the guild. I used it quite a bit. And tilt this? Okay. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Got it, Craig. Thank you, Craig. Hold on. There we go. So it has a sliding tray in here. Here's a story stick of a cutoff we had left over. So if I ever wanted to build this again, I could. So it only has rabbet joinery and things like that. It has a little drawer on the bottom. Craig, you can go ahead and close that down, please. Right down here is the information for the toolbox, and has a nice little drawer to put your plans and things in like that. So time went by, and then my son was going to college, starting college, so I wanted to do something with him. So my son Joe and I built these. So my son and I, we made this here out of Marquetry. That toolbox that Brad Swatters and Andrew Carr made, we had plywood for it. That's my son Joe up there. This is his toolbox. And it's burled walnut and Chilean laurel burl. Then when you open the lid, you have Marquetry on the inside as well. And then that tool tray that comes out, Little Joe, I call him Little Joe. He's taller than me now. Yeah, he's about 6'3". So he went upstairs and at the shop and went upstairs and drew a drawing from Avatar. It was a series. Have you seen Avatar? Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Anyway, so he drew that and came back. We made a packet and he cut it out and put all the pieces in. And Chris, if you can show those photos up there as well. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that collage of photos, but there's Joe up there sanding. He's putting all the Marquetry pieces in the negative space. He's using a scalpel to do the two-way book match. And that one picture with the windows is Joe did all the finishing himself too. Gave him the spray gun. It's water-based Euro varnish. And he went to town, he sprayed them. I took them upstairs to dry. Now my question for the guild is there anyone else in here in this room or at home ever use their kitchen table to dry their goods? Say aye? No? All right, I got about 80% of the people in here. That's awesome. Any questions? This one here is mine. Now, I don't know if my son, so we did a stack cutting technique. So we got that one there, and we have this one here. So when we cut it, we have multiple images. Okay. Now you notice that one has a drawer. Well, these do too. So I know this has a kind of a hidden drawer in here. And so this is also the same burled walnut that is up top. So yeah, it's a fun project to build. The most difficult part of the project was we put the finish on before we glued it up. I've never really done that before. I usually build my project first and then, then put the finish on after glue up. That was the most difficult part there. Fun part was building with my son. Any other questions?
So this one's made out of cherry?
This one here is made out of sapelli. Now,
and this one's made out of?
Peruvian walnut. I don't know how to pronounce that. Peruvian walnut. Yeah, it's like the Peruvian chili pepper that can kill you. All right. Anyway, this type of walnut has like streaks in it, and he saw that, and I didn't think he liked it. I said, Joe, it's gonna turn out fine. It's gonna turn dark. He said, no, I'll take the sapelli. So it's not as tall as the other one, but we designed it from the wood that we had. So everything was the same. Everything was cut the same. So we kind of banged them out at the same time.
What'd you finish them with?
This is a water-based Euro varnish satin.
Why is it called Euro varnish?
Because Enduro, it's Euro. Enduro, it's Enduro varnish, and it kind of enhances the wood. If you put a water-based finish on wood like holly or maple, it stays nice, bright white. But if you use that Enduro varnish, it gives it a little bit of a hue of an oil finish. Not a real deep oil finish, but it enhances the walnut. If you use a regular water-based on this walnut, it doesn't bring out the beauty of the wood. And it dries pretty quick. So we let that dry for an hour and a half up there and went back downstairs. He sanded it. We sanded them, and he put another coat on. There's like 3 coats of finish.
So you sprayed this?
Yes, downstairs in the basement. Use one of those little tents. Works great. Catches all so you don't have to worry about your table saw and all that other stuff. Getting a fine mist.
Or dust getting in there.
Right. So, fun project. So mine's kind of dusty. His isn't because he hasn't put his in the shop, but mine's in the shop being used.
So Joe is going to college this fall?
He's in college. Yeah, he's already up there. He's at Salina studying web design. So making websites up and things like that. So, yep. Yes.
What animal is that supposed to be?
Oh, that's a griffin. It came from a small wood carving about this big. Yeah. And then I redrew it up to a bigger pattern and just kind of doodled and took some things out and put some things in. So it's just from a small wood carving, or a large wood carving, but about that big.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody else got any questions for Dave?
All right. Thank you very much.
You want to show these panels?
Okay.
Real quick, we have a class coming up in June on Marquetry, and this will be the project that students will be making. Yeah, there we go. You can zoom in on that. But it'll be in the Guild website soon. I don't know exactly when, but you'll learn how the stack cutting technique, sand shading, latte, and the diamond match border. And it'll be sanded, and you just take it home, and you'll put your own choice of finish.
Dave, have you ever made anything like that with intarsia as the centerpiece?
Over Marquetry?
Yeah.
Not yet. In the
Be
works.
an idea.
It would be.
This is an awesome looking frame. Gosh.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Jim. Yeah, we'll work on that.
All right.
Yeah. Why not?
Sure.
That's what Intarsia used to do. But it took so long they'd only make one panel. Then they went the stack cutting technique. I actually got 8 different flowers out of one cutting. So there's only 2 finished.
That'd be awesome if you had some depth and profile
yeah,
to that.
a little bit of shadow. Yeah,
Okay.
put the shadow line in the veneer.
Mm-hmm.
Pretend like it's 3D. Yeah.
Good.
Sounds
Work on
good.
that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. We got, am I last? One more?
Calvin. Okay.
Kelvin.
I just have pictures, and if you all remember last month, I showed a few boxes that were kind of a hard deadline. Well, one of the detriments is that this bunk bed project had a hard deadline as well. When I slid that in, this became extremely difficult to get done. So basically, it's a set of double bunk beds for a family that I knew that was building a new house in Breckenridge, Colorado. And I met with them and came up with what they wanted, and they needed it by spring break, which was obviously I had to drive it out the weekend before last to make the deadline. So, making the bunk beds it's not super complicated. It's just a whole slew of parts, and it was built with very traditional methods. All mortise and tenon with kind of a through. Inset nut with a bolt going through, so you could assemble it and disassemble it. If you look at through the pictures, you can see making the ladders was kind of fun. I turned all the rungs and did I did a wedge tenon to come through, and
What'd you make it? What kind of wood did you make that out of?
so the bed itself is made out of mostly poplar, and the rails and the ladders are made out of maple. And so the challenging part about this was mostly in the deadline, and the poplar was painted. So I went down to the sample that the owner of the bed wanted was Benjamin Moore paint sample. So I went down to Benjamin Moore and got some paint, and they recommended their Alkyd enamel, and I was going to spray it. And I'm not an experienced paint sprayer. And when I started getting into it, I saw that it had an 18-hour recoat time, and I just did not have that much time. I mean, I was really not going to make it. And I had already put in, over the course of the 2 weeks, I bet I put in 3 nights that I stayed up past 2 a.m. trying to get this done. And I get to work at 6:30, so, I was running on fumes. But so I went back and I got pre-catalyzed lacquer, and that obviously can get covered pretty fast. And I got my spray gun out, and I've never liked it because it just didn't work right. It's an old Husky spray gun, and I've been having problems with it. And I called my dad and said, "What's going on?" He's a very good spray finisher, and he said, "It's probably your gun." And I watched a couple YouTube videos about troubleshooting your gun, and said, if you're having this problem, it's the problems in the gun. And I had a seal that was broken, and it was sputtering. So you're not going to like this, Jim, but I went to Harbor Freight and got a gun for $15.47, and
his eyes are rolling back in his head. Look out!
I laid down 2 beautiful coats. The second 2 coats of finish with that Harbor Freight purple gun. Made me want to go buy 5 guns and just throw them away every time I have a problem with it.
That's exactly what you'll have to do.
But you know what?
They're not worth cleaning up.
No, I'll probably go buy 4 of them. I'll have $60 in 4 of them, and it'll probably last me 20 years. So, but I made my deadline, and they were happy, and I drove them out to Breckenridge and had enough time to have a beer, looking at the mountains that afternoon. And so,
did you go skiing?
No, I didn't have time for that. I haven't skied since college anyway. But
so the posts, are those 4x4s?
They are, they're about 3 3/4. I bought 16-quarter poplar from Shooty, and by the time I service, it's about 3 3/4, maybe 3
and
5/8.
The rails are
poplar. They're 8/4.
Okay,
about 5.5 inches.
What did you use for supports across from rail to rail to support the mattress?
So down below, since it's all hidden, I used 2x4s. I bought some cheap sort of Simpson type joist hangers, and then up above, they don't really have a good picture of it, but I made arched supports out of poplar, and they were painted, so the kind of a ribbed effect.
And the top rail?
That's maple.
Okay.
And they're just kind of screwed in tight, and it's got 3 drawers, and the drawers are mostly plywood construction with a solid front. And the pulls, the owner bought themselves, and they didn't show up in time, so that's masking tape as the pulls.
Well, Kelvin did an awesome job. I think the finish sucks, but
the application, I admit, the gun was a cheap piece of. It's disposable, but that's what I needed, and it turned out. I was worried that with my timeline I was going to have to rub it all down, and so I sanded after the first coat. I sanded after the second coat, and then the last coat was just beautiful. So it worked out just great. And I don't know if you can see the picture of trying to get all these parts and trying to spray them in my garage. Man, probably the biggest challenge other than the deadline was just all the parts and trying to process all the parts with the little bit of space that I had. And it was just, thankfully we had pretty weather that week, so I could throw up the garage door and cut pieces out in the yard if I needed to. But I mean, I was always moving stuff, but I had no room for anything. So, but anyway, got done. Usually does.
Good. Do you ever do a project that hasn't got a hard deadline on it?
I do it to myself. I mean, I'm kind of like, just like this had a very doable deadline until I added those 5 boxes, and I shouldn't have done that. But I said, hey, I can get it done.
The boxes meaning the drawers.
No. The last month I showed the 5 keepsake
boxes.
boxes.
I see. Yeah,
with the inlaid in the top, and so when I added those to the timeline, it made this one super challenging. It was only 3 weeks later, and I have to do my job as well.
Yeah, with hard deadlines.
Definitely, liquidated damages and all that.
Kelvin and I are in the same line of business where he's a owner or a project manager, and I'm a superintendent. So we speak the same language.
Yeah, and it's not always fun, but it can be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Lots of opportunity to overcome challenges.
Okay. All right. Any other last comments? Questions? Very good. Thank you. All right.
Is that it?
One more.
One more? Oh, here we go.
This is my project. I wanted a lot of times I buy 5x5 Baltic birch plywood, and it's really awkward to handle that stuff because it's so wide, especially if you get a heavy piece of 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood that's 5x5. So I decided I was going to make this cart that lets me put stuff. Would you go back to the first one? Yeah, there you go. So I can set a piece of plywood on the hinges, and where it's basically vertical, and then I can go, if you go to the second one, I can pull it up on the side, and it has some keepers on there that it stays horizontal. And I made it exactly the same height as my table saw, so I can slide that a sheet of plywood off the cart right onto the table saw. And then I decided that my next project, and then you can see the rope on where the uprights are, the keepers on the right side. You pull that rope, that pulls those keepers up, and you can lower it back to the vertical side. So then if you go to the next, my wife wanted a new table for the deck, and so I found one that was round, and for the next project, and it fit perfectly on that cart. So I could tip it up, tip it down, work on the top, turn it around, work on the bottom. So I'll show that table off next month if I'm done. I don't have a hard deadline, Calvin. So I actually went up to Bloomers, which is a sponsor for the guild, and I built that tabletop out of white oak. And all the parts on the cart were I had leftover pieces and parts in the shop. I went to Home Depot and I bought the metal straps for the keepers on the side, and the paracord, and then the casters are 5-inch casters, and they're really good casters. And my problem is that my concrete floor in my shop, my garage, is out of level, and so if I don't set the brake, the thing will roll away. anyway, yeah, in fact, the guys at work have already borrowed it because they had a bunch of plywood that they wanted to rip up, and it worked perfect for them to be able to slide the plywood off of that cart right onto a table saw. That's it.
Very nice. Thank you, Jim. Good to see you again. And a round of applause, Mr. Jim Bainey. A picture of. Oh, we're back. Alrighty, so going on to announcements. Probably, Cal, do you have anything? No, just no. Okay. Mike, as secretary, do you have anything to add? Okay, yeah, that's for a member of large, Tim Locke. He is soliciting people to fill some of the vacancies coming up in board and the leadership committee. Read your newsletter. Y'all should have got a notice that the newsletter came out. In fact, there it is now, Woodwords. It does have a ballot, or not a ballot, but a list of the candidates in there. Yes?
We've listed the people who have tentatively said yes. We're still looking for a treasurer to be determined. If you are,
come on up.
If you work well with numbers, get a hold of either Tim or myself, and we'll be more than happy to talk to you. We've got a tentative person lined up, but he's still just a little bit hesitant because of the amount of time involved. Gary has done a fantastic job and makes it very difficult for someone to step in and follow his shoes.
Yeah, and it's not like, we appreciate all our members paying their dues on time, and I know we've still getting brand new members coming in now, so we do have money. So regrettably, I'll talk about this. We did sign a 3-year lease for this, but our rent went up about 40%. As of now, we don't see an increase coming, but we can't say for sure. But that would be for 2022 if there is an increase, but it's not going to be much if there is one. Maybe $5-10 on people who use the shop. But if you are interested in joining the leadership committee and helping set out the future of the guild, please get a hold of Tim Locke. He's the member at large for the guild, and he'll certainly talk to you about how you can make an impact on the growth of the guild in the future. From our treasurer, Chuck Saunders, he has listed a Steel City drill press, and it's sitting right over there, for $150. And I will add, where is as is. Ron Hall is our communications director. He has a great team that works with him. I think we've got the Facebook group is at KCWWG. And also we have a Facebook group, the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild group. On Instagram, we have Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. So you can certainly post pictures to either one of those. We also have a Twitter account at KCW Guild. And also we're on YouTube. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button, ring the little bell, and you'll get notices when these meetings like this occur. And we're trying to get some more content developed. There's even talk of doing maybe a monthly or an every 2-week post for members to come in and talk about themselves and what they're doing. Ron just published the newsletter yesterday, so if you do have anything that you're working on that you'd like to show off, take pictures, write an article, submit it to Ron. He's at newsletter@kcwg.org, and he would be happy to publish that for you. Let's see, Mark Crawley also does the website, and so if you have any concerns about the website, you can get a hold of Mark. Don't forget new members. If you're unaware, we do have a library that members can check out books and DVDs, take those home, read them, watch them, bring them back. But there is, I don't know how many thousands of books and DVDs back there. Any events coming up, Chris, we need to talk about? No events? All right. I don't know if Jim Berard is still here for our membership. Yeah, I'm looking back there. Jim, how many members do we have? $753. So I mentioned that because if you do use the shop frequently, he has just put out the new listing for all of the name tags. So when you come in, your name tag may not be in the same spot that it was last week. He just finished that probably 10 minutes ago. So I noticed that mine moved over a little bit. We got a lot more in the A's, but all of the cards are now on the north wall. So there won't be any on the south wall or the east wall there in the lobby as you come in. The sponsors will be over there on that side, and brand new members who join after today. So if you come into the shop, your name tag will be in a different spot. I found mine was in a different spot today. Let's see. Programs. Any programs coming up that you want to talk about for next? You can't remember what it is. Okay. Let's see. Read Mike Jones' safety article in the newsletter. Also, let's see. Mike McCulley, you have some rough to ready numbers. How many have you done so far this year? So with rough to ready, that's one of the ways that you can get your green card to come in and get shop privileges. We've done 25 so far this year, he says. Great. All righty. Sponsorship. Dwayne Miller's our sponsorship director. He reminds us to use Amazon Smile. There it is on your screen. 0.5% comes back to the Guild as a donation from them. I think our impact so far this year since we've joined, has been over $700. And so just go to Amazon.com, smile.amazon.com, and search for Kansas City Woodworkers Guild and log in, and we'll automatically create a donation to the Guild with everything you buy. It doesn't raise your price at all.
If they go to a sponsor, mention that you learned about them from the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. That helps them become a sponsor again.
That's a good point. And I'll reemphasize that when you come to Woodcraft, have your membership card, because not everyone there knows that you're a member. We don't, Woodcraft, we don't. There it is, Woodcraft. There you go. We don't, not all my coworkers know that you're a Guild member, because I may not be there to vouch for you. But it is a good idea to show our sponsors that the impact that they're making on us is being returned to them. So show your membership card, make sure that you tell them that you're a member. And so I know we're at Woodcraft, we're looking for your 2021 card. If you have a 2020, we may not give you the discount. So,
Craig?
Yes.
Program for April?
Oh, programs for April.
Yeah. Eric Crum, person who is responsible for finding all of those Australian wood blanks for all those flutes. We had like 3,600 pounds of wood planks in the back. We still have some back there. Well, this is the guy that actually was responsible. He was the person that was who did all the finding of all those wood planks, and he'll be in town. He's coming in here just for a very short time. Just happens that he'll be here for our April meeting.
Perhaps we could lure him with some wood blanks.
Oh, he knows. He's the one that actually got them. So, yeah. And he was a vice president of the Wood Collectors, the International Wood Collectors Society. So this guy, he knows his stuff about wood and about all those blanks that we have.
Maybe he can help identify some of that stuff back there.
He probably did identify them in the first place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I know there was a few that did not have identifying marks on them. So, is that us live now up there? No. Okay. No. Okay. All righty. Moving on here. We're going to go to our guest speaker tonight, and Matt, why don't you come up and introduce him here?
Okay.
We're going to skip over the SIGs. All right.
Yeah. No, we didn't do the Martin guitar person tonight, but very luckily, I've attended Folk Alliance International meetings. Folk Alliance International is a group that, well, as their name is, folk music international. They're right here on Southwest Boulevard, by the way. Their headquarters are their international headquarters, and they every year they have a four-day meeting someplace. Like they'll do several years in a row, and for I think 4 years in a row they did Kansas City. And at the end of their four-day conference, and that's if you like folk music, if you want to see stuff, it is absolutely crazy. It goes on almost 24 hours a day. But they also have a vendor fair, I guess you might want to call it, as part of the whole thing. And one of the persons that I met at the vendor fair was Mark Franski. Mark he'll probably tell you far more about him. I know about him, but I do know that he was a Hallmark artist here in Kansas City. So he's got the talent, and then at some point in time, he decided to take some of that talent and put it towards making musical instruments. I'm sure it's more than just mandolins. I know I've seen some of his guitars, banjos.
Banjos.
Yeah, so he does really fine work. Well, just as an example, your A model, which I believe this is an A model?
It's
sort of, it's a
hybrid.
hybrid.
A hybrid, yeah.
His A models list they begin at $2,500. Okay. His F models begin at $4,500. This guy's a serious musical instrument maker. Is in demand internationally. So we're really very, very lucky to have him locally here, and that he volunteered to come in and give a program for us tonight. So, Mark?
All right. So I don't know what people are interested in, especially. So I brought some finished instruments, and I also brought one of the pieces that I'm working on right now, so you can kind of see what goes into the building of it. Yeah, I've been an artist my entire life. I've spent 10 years in advertising and 25 years as an illustrator at Hallmark, and doing this on the side. And 2013, I decided it was time to jump off the cliff. and so that's what I've been doing full time since I left Hallmark. And one of the reasons I play the mandolin primarily, so that's one of the reasons that I like the mandolin. The other one is that it's mostly wood. With a banjo, there's a lot of metal parts, and you have to have those manufactured, machined by someone other than me. And the mandolin is primarily woodworking and joinery, and working with different types of wood. And one of the things that I like to bring to it is the design and artistry in some of the details. And I really like working with different contrasting woods, just to create some design and add a little color to it. And I'll show you a guitar here in a second. But and if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer questions. And otherwise, I'll just kind of show you what goes into making a mandolin. And it pretty much starts like this. So a mandolin is a solid top and back instrument. It's not made of plywood. And so two pieces are joined in the center and then carved into the final shape. And carved with various tools. The primary one is this thumb plane that it's got a curved bottom on it and a curved blade. Could not live without that. And then with maple, there's a lot of scrapers, and it'll avoid some of the chipping out that the carving can cause. Then the inside is hollowed out, and it's all done to, I use this caliper that I made out of some really pretty leftover curly maple. What are you going to do with your leftover curly maple? You're going to make jigs. But this will tell you how thick it is, and I'm shooting for a very specific thickness. And then as it moves to the center, it moves away from the center, you can see it gets thin, and then it thick right at the edge. And that, knowing what those dimensions are one way to have consistency from one to another. I also weigh it, and I keep track of every instrument that I've built, which is, I'll show you number 100. This is about 106, I think. And so I don't use it, I'm not carving to get it to a specific weight, but I weigh it to see if it's where I've been before, if it's consistent. And another way that we measure it is called tap tuning. And this is like a piano type hammer with a handle on it. And if you tap on it, it produces a tone. It doesn't sound like just a piece of wood. It just sounds, I mean, it's higher pitched because it's thicker, but it also doesn't quite have the musical tone. And you can actually put that up to a strobe tuner and it'll give you the pitch, and you can carve it, fine tune it to get it to, I mean, wood varies, so you can't always get every piece of wood to tune identically. So, but you check it as another way to check for consistency. And this one tunes to a C, which is typically where most of them that I've made tune to in this particular style, this shape. A larger piece or, you know, a different shape is going to tune to a different note. But that's knowing the weight, the thickness, and the tune. I know that this is going to be it should be a decent sounding, and at least consistent with what I've built before. And then the top, so this is made of curly maple, and this piece of maple actually came from Woodcraft. Woodcraft bought a huge stack in the middle of the floor. Yeah. And so my buddy called me up and said, I'm out here at Woodcraft. He said, you won't believe it. He said, he was one of the first ones to go through it, and he sorted through and picked out some, I think this one is too, just some absolutely beautiful flame. And so typically mandolins, violins are made of maple, and typically hard maple. Sometimes, you know, you can use it. A hardwood is going to produce a good tone. You can use walnut, pretty much anything. Traditionally, it's maple, and then it's selected for a particular beauty after that. And the top of a mandolin is quarter sawn spruce. This is Engelmann, which comes from the Northern Rockies. This came from Canada. The Sitka spruce comes from Alaska, and the Adirondack from the Northeast. And those are the primary spruces that we use on violins and mandolin. It's quarter sawn. It's got a very tight grain. This particular piece does. It's book matched and joined in the center and carved in the same way that this is. And when I'm at this stage, I cut the F-holes kind of rough. They'll be finished with points like you'll see on those. But I wait until I'm at the process where I'm figuring out where the bridge placement is going to go, and then I want to line those points of the F-hole in the exact center of the bridge. So I wait until because there can be some variability in the neck fitting. The inside is carved out, has two tone bars. This is a treble, and that's the bass side. The bass side is typically, traditionally, off-center, closer to the hole. And these also is part of the tuning process. So you're probably not going to be able to hear it very well, but if you can, you should be able to tell that this one is slightly higher than that one. And the neck is not glued on, so I'm not getting a really good tone because there's a little bit of vibration, but I'm getting a lot of vibration. So I think you can hear that there is a difference. And if you put that on a strobe tuner, when I checked it today, this was a little sharp of F sharp, and this is a little sharp of G sharp, which is exactly where I want it. And then when after I've glued this on, and I'll get a better tone, I might take a little bit off of each one of those, and ideally I want to be at A sharp and G sharp.
You've done this for a while, so you know what you're looking for.
Yes.
But in the beginning, was it trial and error?
It was. I mean, there's a lot of information out there, and so you can read about all this, and you can look inside an instrument. You can see, if you come across an instrument, you stick your finger in the F hole, and your tone bars are really skinny. Wow. That thing sounds great. Oh, my tone bars are a lot fatter than that. Wow. So a lot of that, and there's a lot of information about, how these should be placed, and how thick and that sort of thing. And the first one, I mean, it sounded good. It sounded decent. And then as I went along, there were things that I got a little bit more bold with the getting thinner with the top. It's like you want the top to be thin, but it can't be too thin. You want it to be so thin that if you put one more piece of sandpaper, the whole thing is going to explode. But you want to stop right before you get there. And I did have one that I strung up. So when I get this all glued together, I'll put strings on it, unfinished, and test it out, play it. And there are a few tweaks you can make at that point to enhance the tone. And I'll make those changes. And I had one, and it just sounded fantastic. And I left it strung up for a couple weeks, and then when I'm ready to take it apart, I noticed that the top was collapsing from the weight of the bridge. And no wonder it sounded so good. It was one carving stroke over the line. But the assembly, there's blocks in the corners and the ends for strength. This holds the dovetail. It's joined in the back. And then we use a lining. This has kerfs in it so that it'll bend around the curve. And that gives it a little bit of support against the edge. And then I route a groove around the edge for the marquetry and the binding. And the binding, sometimes I make it out of wood. A lot of times I make it out of wood. This one is, I'm going for a kind of a traditional look, and it's a grained ivooroid plastic. But it gives it kind of a hard edge. So it serves a purpose, and it's also decorative. If you just had the spruce exposed and rounded over, it could ding up real easily. So I'm going to take this off, because I'm quite proud of it. So that's the dovetail, and it's a compound dovetail, so it's tapered at the bottom, so that as you push it in, it gets tighter. It's also, the neck is at a 5-degree angle. So it's angled this way. Then you have to make sure that it's square this way and that it's center lined this way. So you cut the dovetail oversized and start removing material, and if it's lining up this way, you remove a little bit off of that side and compensate until it fits in. And then after I glue it in, I'll sand this off flush. It sticks up a little bit here. There will be a little riser piece, and the fingerboard will extend over. And then I made this thing. This is really high tech. Sometimes I've tested stain colors on it. Got glue all over it. If this lays on the fingerboard surface, that pin touches where the bridge will be, and then I know that when I put the bridge on, everything will be the exact right height. So that's, and then there's an overlay that this is for decoration. I'll put trim around the outside. I've routed it for the mother of pearl that's going to go in there. And that's how you make a mandolin. Yeah, so I'll show you some of the ones that I've done. And this is number 100. So I wanted it to have lots of gold and bling and everything I could think of.
What kind of time do you have in a particular mandolin?
I have never been able to keep track. I have set out several times and put a notebook. Okay, I'm starting at 10:15, and then, you know, I'm carving this, and then I go over and I'm sanding on that, and then my arm's sore, so I'm going to go do some inlay, and then I come back and I go, how much time? I have no idea, and I just and then today I cut 2 neck dovetails and body dovetails and the overlays for 2 mandolins. So you know, if I've got the jig set up to cut a dovetail, I'll do 2, or 3, whatever, however many I have going at the time. Right now I have 2 mandolins going. And this is a shape that is very similar to a 1930s K craft mandolin, which was not necessarily a desirable instrument. They're not valuable, and some of them were plywood. I just liked the shape of it. And I modified it some. There's some practical considerations. It needs to be able to fit in a modern case. And the old Ks were larger and they were thicker. And so this is actually the exact shape. All these are the exact same shape to here and to here. And then one has a point, one has a scroll, and they both have this point right there. And so they all fit in the same case. So that was a practical consideration.
Can you explain the different models? You know, A model, F model,
so
and whatever they are.
The A model is typically, and these are based on Gibson's naming conventions. And in the early part of the 20th century, they designated the A0, A1, A2, A3, A4. And then the F, which stood for Florentine, has a scroll. And so now everybody uses those terms. So an F style means it has the Florentine scroll. An A style is typically a teardrop. So it would come up like this and end and not have the points on it. This one I call the K5 because it's patterned kind of after the K, and 5 is the designation that Gibson gave for the instruments with the F holes. So I call it a K5. But this one has mother of what we love to fondly call mother of toilet seat, celluloid all over. These are actually painted. They're not inlaid, they're just painted. This is routed and then filled with glitter and sanded off. So just like you would do, you just put glue and put glitter on it, and there's your thing, except that these are recessed so that the glitter would stay down in. And then same with the part around the edge, I routed out a recessed channel and dropped glitter into it. And then I used a piece of bone on the top of the bridge just because it felt like it needed some white. And it's got marquetry around the sides. This is a piece of curly maple with it's got center laminations down the neck and on there.
Now,
So-
because some of your instruments go outside of the United States, you have to conform with the CITES Act and
That, and also with its, I learned that mother of pearl cannot be exported. It can be imported as long as it's documented and it comes from it. You know, there are legal sources of mother of pearl. As long as you can prove documentation, and where I get the pearl, you can. If you want to export it, you have to provide the documentation that you bought it legally. You also have to have a license to export shell material. And that, there's a fee for that, and then you have to pay a shipping fee on top of it. And it was ridiculous. I did it a couple of times, and I was up till 4 a.m. trying to figure out the paperwork. And no one can tell you what the rule is. No one. They say, and they'll say, this is how I've done it. This is not legal advice. This is how I've done it, and it's gone through. So then I decided if I've got an order for out of the country, I use wood inlays, and I've used synthetic stone and other types of materials that you can get around that and not have to worry importing a material that's illegal to export. But I mean, it makes no sense. Of course, none of it makes any sense. That's the way it is. Celluloid, you have to pay a hazmat fee to have it shipped to you. So you order it in large quantities because you're paying a one-time. I can send the instrument out without paying a hazmat fee. It has celluloid in it. So anyway, let's not go there. But this is one that this is number 99. So for 99, and these two I'm keeping for myself, and I take them to Folk Alliance show and festival shows and stuff. So 99, it has a different shape. This is the only one that has this shape. It's got a lot of cocobolo. All this is cocobolo. This is spruce that's just painted black. Maple back and sides. This one has a satin finish. And this one, it doesn't have my logo. It has an F that comes from the logo. And then the wood vine, I wanted to be continuous all the way through onto the pick guard and over to the arm. And then I made this out of brass and rosewood tailpiece. And then the bridge I made a cocobolo. So this one, I made everything except for the strings, the little adjusting wheels, and the tuners. And then on the tuners, I really like these tuners, but they come with cream-colored buttons, but they're beautiful tuners, and they're real smooth. They're German-made. So I found ebony tuner buttons and fit them to there, and then where there would have been a screw on the old tuners, I fixed these so they don't need a screw, and then I filled it with a little round amber stone, faux stone inlay. So those are the kinds of things that really excite me about it, are being able to do all those little things. This one's got a really cool quilted maple back. This piece I got from Northwest Timber. They specialize in quilted maple. And it was an expensive piece of wood, but I got 3 mandolins out of it. And so this is the one that I typically play and show. But this one has mother of pearl rectangles with an abalone diamond in the center of it. This is the F style, so it has the Florentine scroll. And then this really cool piece of ebony that had, you know, sometimes ebony's not always black, it's not all black. And it was just a scrap that I found and made the armrest out of it.
Looks like a chin rest.
It's exactly like a chin rest. This is chin rest hardware that you'd find on a viola because it's a little thicker. But yeah, it's a similar thing, but it keeps your arm off of the instrument. And I don't always do that, but it's just this. I had that piece of wood, and I thought, make a great armrest.
And the mandolins are tuned exactly like a violin, aren't
Yeah. So yeah, GDAE, tuned in fifths. And then finally, this one I just finished, and it's leaving next week. So I thought I'd bring it in. But I had a guy he and his sister are buying this for their dad's 70th birthday. And his dad actually has played in a Beatles cover band. And the name of the band is Help. And so they wanted kind of a Beatles theme. And, you know, I said, I really don't want to do something that's over the top. I mean, not that I'm afraid of doing over the top, because I clearly do. But I wanted to keep it a little more subtle, and they thought that was great. So the only real obvious part of it is the 4 Beatles on the fretboard. The other references are all pretty subtle. This is an example of the contrasting woods that I like to use. So this has a little bit of everything. It's got Paduke and Babinga and rosewood, ebony. It's everything I could, every piece of scrap I had. Represents the rainbow for Magical Mystery Tour. And if you could trace it all the way, this comes up, you know, and it flares like that. And so it's like if you took the rainbow and then just cut the ring out of it. That was the idea behind that. And then the back of the guitar, this is the crosswalk from Abbey Road. Pretty subtle. It's one of the things you're going to have to explain to somebody. But that's kind of the way I wanted it. I didn't want it to have a Beatles logo, and I didn't want it to have anything like that. The color is to look kind of like Paul's bass, the sunburst bass that he played.
Well, we're getting some requests for you to play some.
Oh, really? Wish I knew how to play. But so this is very similar to a Martin O guitar size. It's my own shape, but it's very similar. There are just a few things. I looked at the O and I thought, I don't know why they did that. They should have done it like that. So this one is French polished shellac. Those are nitro lacquer, and then that one has a fine mist spray of satin over the top of it. And I am far from a master of French polish. I'm pretty pleased with the results, but I am far from being a master. I've done several, and I think I get better each time, but not there yet. A little red-haired boy, kind of an old Irish song. That's what it sounds like. So yeah.
Why do mandolins have double strings?
Well, so with a violin, you pull with a bow, you can get a long, drawn-out note. With a mandolin, with 2 strings, it rings a little longer. And I don't know if that was the intent, but that's the result.
Is it? Do you think it was modeled on the balalaika?
They're all related. You know, the lute and you know, they call this work lutherie, based on a lute maker, essentially. But they've been around a long time. They're a mandolin orchestra. They did classical, jazz, folk, pretty much everything. A friend of mine did a radio show asking about the mandolin, and he said, "Get that octave." Octated sound. So mandolin has octated sound. They're so have a board as it. And I cut it, you know, not quite to my pencil line, and then clean it up with chisels and I've got different sanding blocks that have different shapes on them, and you just take a little bit off the heel, and you can spend a couple hours to make that fit because it's oversized to begin with, and then I take a little bit off and I push it in, and then I see where it's not quite right and make adjustments as I go until when it finally pushes down in, it's right where I want it.
You said you used router to put some of that inlay in. What kind of router?
So for this, a lot of I've used a Dremel with a bit that has a bearing guide on it, and it's got an adjuster so you can move it in and out to move it this way. On this particular instrument that doesn't have the scroll, I set up my table router with a bearing fitted. There are bearings in all different widths, and I choose the one for the binding that I'm using, and I actually run the instrument into the router bit. And it's got a stop on it, so it can't go any deeper. I've got a deal, and then the bearing keeps it from going too far in. And then the rest, and I do it until I'm about a 16th through where I want to be, and then I finish that with a chisel. And one of the tricks, so that with a mandolin, I'm taking the top and back down to this edge right here. So when I get to that edge, so I can see the glue line when I get to it, and I want to just chip off that glue line, and that puts me perfectly square with the sides. And then the bending, I use a hot pipe with a propane torch and spray the wood with water, and I have a piece of aluminum on each side of it to protect it so it doesn't burn, rock it back and forth until I get the bend, then put it in a fixture until it dries. So, yeah.
So I'm looking at your website right here. Why don't you real quick give a shout out, and how do people find out about you?
Okay, my website is mfstrings.com. Untitled.com. And it took me a while to get to that. It was Franski String Instruments. No one can spell Franski. By the time you get string instruments, you've already misspelled something. So I changed it to MF Strings, and it's amazing.
Well, I just did a quick Google search and found this one.
That's that's from the blog.
Well, I'm scrolling down here, and I see one that really caught my eye, being from Kansas City.
Oh yeah, the Royals Banjo. Okay, so yes, I have gone way over the top before. So I decided when the Royals went to the World Series that I was going, if they won, I would build the Royals Banjo. And I didn't cut anything because I didn't want to jinx it. Drawn. And I don't, the game was over, what, 11 o'clock or something. And I was up till 2 in the morning and started on it. And I hand cut all of that World Series champs on the fretboard out of synthetic. It's a synthetic pearl. I didn't want to waste my good mother of pearl on it because that's a lot of material. And then the baseball on the banjo head is spray painted. I made a stencil and sprayed it. It's got the Royals logo at the top, and then and then I painted the back of the neck partly blue like a baseball bat. I was going to put pine tar on it, but I decided not to. And then there's a home plate, which is the truss rod cover, covers the adjusting rod there. And then the tailpiece is a baseball mitt. And that was done with a laser cutter. But and then the banjo, the rest of it is just parts, a lot of metal parts. And so I used some that, some of them were used and some I'd pieced out of other banjos. So I didn't have a lot of money in it. That was in the Kansas City Star. And then I ended up donating it to a charity auction. And someone here bought it, so it seemed like the right thing to do. But I didn't do a Chiefs Super Bowl. Everyone said, "Are you going to make it?" No, I think I've done it. I had a hard time with the design. Yeah, the baseball it designed itself. Yeah. Okay.
Do you have any questions online, Chris?
Well, you can send message through my website. My email's on there. If there's anything you want to follow up, and I'm happy to. It's just like with the Woodworkers Guild. I mean, we're all here to share what we know. It's not like someone's going to steal your secrets and.
Well, we will definitely get your website and your blog and all that information.
Okay.
Put that in the comments or in the description on the YouTube.
Okay. No,
okay.
I don't know anything else. I'd play
Ready
my
for
only
this?
tune.
All right, you have to come out here, Mark.
All right.
Every month, you get our guest gets their mug shot taken.
Oh.
And that's because we get a mug, or I have to look at the camera here. Thank you. All right. And so only speakers get these mugs. So you're
cherish it.
Yes, you're one of few that get to get one. We only give about 12 a year, or it's 11 a year, actually.
Oh, great.
So we have anything else to talk about tonight? All right.
All right.
Next month, meetings on. Oh, yes. Next month is elections, so do keep an eye out for an email asking you to fill out the ballot and submit it. We have over 700 members now, so we need at least 70 of you to vote on this. That constitutes a quorum for this fine event we're going through. Hopefully by September or so, we'll get rid of the mask. I know there's been some talk about doing away with the mask in the shop. Some of us on the board feel that it's not quite yet the time to do away with masks. we'll probably talk about this in another couple months. So until then, mask, safety glasses in the shop, and of course, your green or orange name badge when you're here. So we'll see you next month. Stay safe in the shop. Thanks much.